Namaste, children. This is Jyoti Devgan from the Department of Social Science. And today I am going to start the second part of the chapter number 10, that is 18th century, the political formations. Now, switching over to the old Mughal provinces. Among the states that were carved out of the old Mughal provinces in the 18th century, three provinces stand out prominently. These were Awadh, Bengal, and Hyderabad. All three states were founded by the members of the high Mughal nobility who had been the governors of these provinces. Sadat Khan was the ruler of Awadh. Murshid Quli Khan was ruling over Bengal, and Asaf Shah Jah was controlling Hyderabad. All three, they had occupied high position, high mansabdari position, and they enjoyed the trust and the confidence of the emperors. Both Asaf Shah and Murshid Quli Khan held a Zat rank of 7,000 each, while Sadat Khan Zat was 6,000. Now switching over to Hyderabad, Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah, the founder of Hyderabad state, please note it down. Who was the founder of Hyderabad state? It was Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah from 1724 to 1748. He was one of the most powerful members at the court of the Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar. He was entrusted first with the governorship. He was given the governorship of Awadh, and later he was given charge of Deccan, India. As the Mughal governor of the Deccan provinces during 1720 to 22, Asaf Jah had already gained control over its political and financial administration. Now, taking advantage of the turmoil, taking advantage of the scene that had been created in India, the competition among the court nobility, he gathered power in his hand and he became the actual ruler of that region. Now, Asaf Shah brought the skilled soldiers, that were the trained soldiers and administrators from northern India, who welcomed the new opportunities in the south. Obviously, those skilled people were brought here and they were made nobles and kings of various provinces. He appointed mansabdars and granted jagirs. He gave them pieces of land, pieces of provinces, although he was still a servant of the Mughal emperor. He ruled independently without taking any direction from Delhi or facing any interference. Independently, he ruled. The Mughal emperor merely confirmed the decisions already that had been taken by Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. Hyderabad state was constantly busy in a struggle against the Marathas to the west, and with independent Telugu warrior chiefs, that is, they were known as the Nayaks. The Telugu warriors were known as Nayaks of the plateau, of the Deccan plateau. The ambitions of Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah to control the rich textile producing areas of the Coromandel coast. In the east, they were checked by the Britishers, who were becoming increasingly powerful in that region. Now, talking about Awadh, Burhan ul Mulk Sadat Khan was appointed Subadar of Awadh in 1722 and founded a state which was one of the most important to emerge out of the breakup of the Mughal Empire. Awadh was a prosperous region, controlling the rich alluvial Ganga plain and the main trade route between North India and Bengal. Burhanul Mulk also held a combined office of Subadars, Diwanis, and Faujdari. In other words, he was responsible for managing the political, financial, and the military affairs of the province of Awadh. Mulk, he tried to decrease Mughal influence in the Awadh region by reducing the number of office holders. He had seen what had happened with the previous rulers. He decreased the number of mansabdars. He also reduced the size of jagirs and appointed his own loyal servants to the vacant positions. Automatically, they were more loyal to him. The accounts, that is the finance place or the financial resources of Jagirdars, were checked to prevent cheating, and the revenues of all the districts were reassessed, means they were again checked again and again by the officials appointed by the Nawab's court. He seized a number of Rajput zamidaris, and agriculturally fertile lands of the Afghans of Rohilkhand. Now, this state, Awadh, it depended on local bankers and Mahajans, the ones who used to give loans. It sold the right to collect tax to the highest bidders, what we have at present. These revenue farmers or ijardars agreed to pay the state a fixed amount of money. The local bankers, they guaranteed the payment of this contracted amount to the state. Now, what did they do in return? In turn, the revenue farmers were given considerable freedom in the assessment, that is calculation, and the collection of these taxes. These developments, they allowed new social groups like moneylenders and bankers to influence the management of the state's revenue system, something which had not occurred in the past. This was something very, very new and which is being still followed by us. Now, coming over to Bengal, let us talk about Bengal. Bengal gradually broke away from Mughal control under Murshid Quli Khan, who was appointed as Naib, that is the deputy of the governor of the province. So, who is a Naib? He was the deputy of the governor. Although never a formal Subadar, Murshid Quli Khan very quickly seized all the power and went with that office. Like the rulers of Hyderabad in south and Awadh, he also commanded, he also controlled the revenue administration of the state. Now, in an effort to reduce the Mughal influence in Bengal, he transferred all the Mughal Jagirdars to Odisha. He sent them to Orissa and ordered a major reassessment. He ordered a major, once again, checking of the revenues of Bengal. The revenue was collected in cash with great strictness from all zamindars. Now, as a result, the zamindars had to borrow money from the bankers and the money lenders. Those who were unable to pay were forced to sell their lands to the larger zamindars. The formation of a regional state in 18th century Bengal therefore led to considerable changes amongst the zamindars. The close connection between the state and the bankers, noticeable in Hyderabad and Awadh as well, was clear in Bengal also, under the rule of Ali Vardi Khan from 1740 to 1756. During his reign, the banking house of Jagat Seth became extremely popular and prosperous. Now, if we take a bird's eye view, rather, if we talk in a nutshell, we can detect three common features amongst these states. First, very important, though many of the larger states were established by the erstwhile Mughal nobles, they were highly suspicious of some of the administrative systems that they had inherited. Now, second feature of this is that their method of tax collection, it really differed. It was different. Rather than relying upon the officers of the state, all three regimes, they contracted with the revenue farmers for the collection of the revenue. The practice of ijardari system, thoroughly disapproved of by the Mughals, spread all over the country in the 18th century. Their impact on the countryside, it differed considerably. The third common feature in all these three regional states was their emerging relationship with the rich bankers and the merchants. As I told you earlier, the one who controls the finance controls the whole district. These people, they lent money to the revenue farmers, received land as security, and collected taxes from these lands through their own agents. They had their own agents. They used to calculate once again, they used to reassess, and then collection of taxes was made. Throughout India, the richest merchants and bankers were gaining a stake